President signed into law a new anti-terrorism bill.
You will lose your liberty.
Sometimes the spirit becomes so powerful in a place where it's like electricity. And you can't stay still. And you can't stay still. Power of spirit. Sometimes the spirit becomes so powerful in a place where it's like electricity. And you can't stay still. And you can't stay still. Power of spirit.
There is a chance for the President of the United States to use this disaster to carry out the New World Order.
This mass terrorism is the new evil in our world today.
All right, my friends, it is May 4th, 2004. I'm Alex Jones, down here for almost a decade, doing this local cable show, trying to get the information out to the people. And, of course, the websites are prisonplanet.tv, prisonplanet.com, and infowars.com. Let's launch straight into the news. NYPD planning to install its own surveillance cameras. Now, the federal government, through the state governments, has installed over 1 million cameras in the United States. They also contract with private companies to have their feeds fed through their central switching systems, their digital switchboards. But now in New York, the police want to put up their own grid of cameras. What makes these cameras different? Well, any digital camera with enough resolution and quality, just mid-range quality for today's technologies, can zoom in on your face and then compare it to the digital photos that have been taken of you when you get an ID card or a driver's license that's been acting as the national ID card by fiat for many years. 42 states have adopted the digital face scan, the digital photo. And, of course, many other states have adopted the biometric thumbprint as well. So the New York Daily News and others have reported that the NYPD planning to install its own surveillance cameras, and these are going to have face scanning software that they're fed through. Again, any digital camera of high enough quality can be fed through the different types of face scanning softwares that are out there, and they can match millions of faces in a single second. This is, again, out of the New York Daily News. It says New York Police Deputy Commissioner James Onofilo is working on a plan for up to $1 billion in new computer and camera equipment, according to the Post. Facial recognition technology would allow police to pick out and follow suspects in high-crime areas and near potential terror targets. Now, Homeland Security 2 weeks ago announced that, they're going to put these face scanning software in all of the highway and neighborhood and city cameras, and the grants are now going out to the states. What does this do? Well, it allows them to, again, track and trace everything you're doing. And you'll say, well, then what do I have to hide? Well, in a free society, the government is transparent, the population isn't. And the government will say this is all, to keep you safe from terrorists, but they keep mixing the word crime. We're going to fight terrorist and crime. We're going to fight criminals and terrorists. And so Homeland Security is now taking on these duties of, quote, fighting crime. And that was the plan of Homeland Security way back in 1993 when Bill Clinton first gave a speech about it. Many people think that Homeland Security first got announced after September 11, 2001, then passed in 2002. No, the architecture, the infrastructure, the scaffolding of Homeland Security, of the military-industrial complex takeover, police-state takeover, cashless society control grid was going into place, again, over a decade ago. And no longer is the high-tech police state some near-future despotism. It is now upon us. And, of course, the federal government is involved funding New York with the $1 billion to put all of this in. Now, already in Austin, Texas, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, California, New York, New York. They already have hundreds of face scanning cameras, that is digital cameras with zoom capabilities, hooked in through the face scanners. I mean, the feds have been on C-SPAN a few years ago, about 4 years ago, I saw them bragging, showing people walking around in different U.S. cities. As I sat there eating breakfast, I watched them cut to Austin, Texas, into neighborhoods and side roads and highways. And so when you were told that they were putting in all these cameras, it was for traffic monitoring. And certainly it had that dual use. Just like you can use a hammer to drive nails or a hammer to bash somebody's brains in, it also has the dual use of being used to destroy all of your privacy. Another article out of the Scientific American, May 3rd, 2004, has the headline, "The Boom in Bomb Detection." Now again, everything they do is to stop terrorists, stop the criminals. First it was just the terrorists. Don't worry, it's just for them. Now it's, and the criminals. And in this article, they say that government buildings, private parking garages, everywhere in the country is going to have powerful X-ray machines that X-ray your car while you're in it, while you drive through. Already on the northern and southern border, they have put these in. But the illegal aliens coming through Canada, coming through Mexico, have been given a waiver program where they don't have to biometrically scan their retinas, their faces, their thumbs, their fingers biometrically, and they get waived on through. And we've seen statistically where they just target U.S. citizens. This is all about training you how to be a slave. And just a chilling article out of the Scientific American, "The Boom in Bomb Detection." And it talks about how these scanners are already being put in where you drive through them. We've seen video images of people hiding in trunks of cars, crisp images of their bodies. And you say, oh, well, that's stopping the illegal aliens. The government knows that 80+% of the American people are against the open borders and all these illegal aliens. And so everything they do, again, is in the name of stopping the illegal aliens, when in truth it has nothing to do with the illegal aliens. And it's like this across the board. And just to illustrate the doublethink and the hypocrisy, News 6 out of Los Angeles is reporting that the Navy finds video camera in female sailor's shower. And it says Navy investigators are searching for whoever is responsible for hiding a wireless video camera in a shower stall for female sailors. The camera was found aboard the San Diego-based command ship Coronado, that's mainly a Marine troop carrier, on April 14th. The Navy spokesman says the camera's battery was dead and a search of nearby compartments didn't turn up its receiver. Now, why did I read that article? We heard a story last year here in Austin of a pervert in Round Rock. At his gym, the owner had cameras in the women's locker rooms and showers. And he's now going to serve a long prison sentence, and he should. I saw a story where a pervert janitor at a public school, middle school, hid a camera in the girls' bathroom, and that happened to be in Tennessee. He's been arrested and charged, and I haven't heard what the conviction was, if he was convicted. But he confessed to it. And I see these articles every week. So whereas this is bad, and it is, whereas this is bad and evil, a week before the janitor got busted in another Tennessee school, an entire middle school that also served a nearby elementary school put in cameras in the classrooms, the hallways, the bathrooms, and the showers. And in the field house used by boys and girls, it said from age 10 to age 13. They had cameras in the showers, in the locker rooms. And they told the parents they were doing this, and it was for their safety. And then a visiting team of 11 and 12-year-old girl team last year were taking showers after the game, saw the camera up in the corner, ran out screaming, yelling, freaking out, Parents almost rioted, and the superintendent said, "What's the big deal? It's for your safety." So that's doublethink. That it's bad when a pervert janitor does it, or bad when some pervert does it at a gym in Round Rock, Texas, north of Austin. But it's not bad when from Canada to New York to Tennessee to Texas to California, I've seen articles where first they put cameras in the school lunchroom, then in the halls, then in the classrooms. They're hooked into wireless internet systems, and then the police can access it. I saw a Sacramento Bee article a few months ago where the police are accessing all these cameras for all the schools in the county that Sacramento resides in. In the case of Tennessee, it turned out that hundreds of times the internet video had been accessed by people in Virginia, North Carolina, Kentucky. Hundreds and hundreds of times accessing, going into the computers. It was open. They had the codes. The investigation ended there, though, of who was getting these feeds. Think about this. Think about this. This isn't freedom. This is Winston in 1984. Here's another example of doublethink. A year ago, several months into the liberation of Iraq from the former CIA asset Saddam, they were liberating Iraq from the previous liberator they put in. We began to get the photos, the video, the reports, the foreign reports from Germany and England and Arab channels showing them beating Iraqis to death, raping women, killing children, running over people's cars because they think they stole one stick of firewood, laughing at them as they beg and cry. Just the most sinister stuff. And then suddenly, 2 weeks ago, it breaks on CBS News, the photos of, and by the way, they didn't show you half the photos. We have 75% of the photos posted. Some of these I won't even post on my website. I mean, raping women, sodomizing women, killing people. There's photos of them murdering people. I mean, I'm not even going to post that. We have links to sites that do. But we have a family website, and by that, I mean, we'll put a lot of radical, hardcore stuff on there. But, I mean, snuff films, that's going a little far. But this is on some mainstream sites out there, and you can, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The reason we don't is my websites are used as curriculum in a lot of private schools around the country, and are used as a research tool because we post hundreds of news articles per day on my 4 websites. Well, actually, we have 6 websites now, and we get about 20 million visitors a month. And we've already been filtered out at a lot of big businesses and libraries, and if we do put a lot of that other stuff on there, it'll also get us shut out for more of the filters. But this is the doublethink. This is the hypocrisy psychologically. I heard neocon talk show hosts like Michael Savage and Sean Hannity and others condone beating, torture, interrogation. There were New York Times, Washington Post, Washington Times articles. There were articles with headlines, lauding the virtues of torture. Let's pull their teeth out. Let's pull their fingernails out. Let's beat them. Let's kill them. In Masters of Terror, I have Fox News going, let's stop their lungs and heart. We have a special machine that does this and make them answer questions. Law enforcement magazines were calling for it. And for 50 years, the School of America is now under a new name in Georgia, has trained the world, has trained Saddam Hussein and his Republican Guard, and how to hook electrodes to people's genitalia, how to rape people to get answers, how to torture people's children in front of them. And this has all been public. We've known for a year, 2 months into the takeover of Iraq, that they were torturing people. And you say, well, they were probably Taliban or Al-Qaeda or something. Folks, we have Associated Press articles where Shalibi, the former convicted bank robber of Jordan, the top lieutenant of the Shah of Iran who ran the torture camps there, that's the head guy over Baghdad, he has a Halliburton contract. This is all on the website, mainstream news. And you're not allowed to have a shop or a store or sell anything unless you do. You have to wear a Halliburton-issued RFID from the Paul Bremer Council, but it's all privately administered. and James Baker's involved too, to have a job. And last year there was this Associated Press article we posted that showed dozens of men having bags put over their heads and being loaded into flatbed open back trucks. And it said that their crime was they were caught selling tangerines, dates, and beer in downtown Baghdad without a coalition savior liberator license. They had a top Army general a few months ago in the New York Times, and I read the article here on this show, bragging that whole towns don't have any men over the age of 10 in them. If one tank gets shot at, they will go into a town of thousands of people. There are dozens of these camps, not just the Baghdad airport that they turned into a camp, Saddam's former camp, where his U.S. training, was very good for him. Just pointing that out again. How do I even describe this? This is so bad. And they take these men, these boys, and they take them there where the most sadistic filth you can imagine. These former federal and state jail guards who they specially commission and bring over there. And now the jail guards are going, we're not going down for this. Why do you think we posed for the photos and passed out CDs? It's like trading baseball cards here in Iraq. This is what we do. We all trade these CDs of torture and murder and death. We were ordered to by military intelligence. And now the general, the woman general who's getting burned said, listen, I'm over all the bases, but it's Army intelligence that runs the prisons. And I was told to do this. I've got her right here saying it. And so suddenly, we're not going to kick her out. And suddenly, we're just going to give you an administrative punishment to the 6 people. Look, these jail guards don't sit there in the middle of the lockdown, in the middle of the major prison, in the big hallway, with troops all around them, making men give each other fellatio, making men hump each other, which, by the way, those still photos, they weren't just making them get in pyramid piles. They were making them have sex with each other. Those are the photos that our media won't show you. They should at least tell you that the photos are there. I don't expect them to show them on national television. But I mean, when you see women being raped brutally by our troops, when you see men being forced to rape each other at machine gun point, being urinated on, I mean, folks, there's some other stuff I can't even mention. The Chicago Sun-Times, Seymour Hersh is reporting at the New Yorker, one of the best reports I've seen. I'm not bragging. It's got 10% of the info we brought forward in the last year. But it's got them. They will murder these people, beat them to death. Then they'll put a fake IV in their arm and roll them out and then dump them in a mass grave. Now, Brigadier General Rick Baucus, the head of Camp X-Ray, coming up on 2 years ago, resigned. Then they said, no, you don't resign, you're fired. But then he threatened to sue him. They said, okay, you resigned. And he told the Associated Press, there were 2 AP articles. He did 1 Rhode Island interview. I talked to him on the phone. He said, I can't come on. I've been basically threatened. He said, I can't talk. I love my family. But before he got told to shut up, he said, these aren't even real Taliban or Al-Qaeda number 1, which the LA Times has documented. This is just training our troops how to torture. But he said, we're torturing the daylights out of these people. And they've had, over 14 deaths at Camp X-Ray, where they always claim it was a suicide. And the general over it quit, said in good conscience he couldn't be part of this. Do you know what the London Guardian reported, and the base even had to admit it? Do you know one of the ways they torture them? Do you know what they do? They have Arabs in there, and they'll have their sons in there. And they will beat their sons and electrocute them in front of their fathers. When they round these so-called terrorists up, who aren't the real terrorists were CIA Arabs that are all free and flown out of Afghanistan and Pakistan in the middle of the Afghan war. That's admitted. They tortured their children in front of them. And there was even a CIA section chief in the Washington Post in late 2001. And we've got this in the films, and it's in the torture archive of Infowars.com. And the guy bragged. He said, well, we don't do the real torture at Camp X-Ray, we take them to Jordan and we take them to Egypt, where we can torture them and threaten their families and their children. I was in a hotel in Los Angeles when I was out there taping some Conspiracy Zone episodes for TNN or whatever that channel is. I'll never forget watching Rumsfeld, because if I'd have been at home, I could have recorded it. And Rumsfeld was up there bragging at a Pentagon press conference about how they were torturing people. So here's the double think. Here's the hypocritical nature of the general public. I've heard you on talk radio, you sickos calling in. Saddam's bad when he tortures. And by the way, he was trained by our government, but you're not supposed to know about that. You're supposed to forget history, the memory hole. He's bad. And he is bad when he tortures. But we're good when we torture. I mean, what's wrong with you? So now Joseph Mengele torturing Jews is good? No, I don't think so. You know, now the Nazis are good. You know, the Nazis told their people, do this for the Reich, do this to keep the Reich safe. And they did it. And I have to tell you, German society was much more moral than the American society until Hitler came along. And he took a moral people and warped them into blood-drinking devils. We're ripe for this type of stuff. From the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, two arms on the same beast, the same policies, different rhetoric. That's the only difference. And here's another Iraqi cameraman recounts ordeal in U.S. detention. And this is in the BBC, you name it. And they tortured his son in front of him. They would bang their heads in the walls so they pass out, kill people. But there's a whole nother layer to this. This thing's like an onion. There's the double think of saying our torture's good, and you all heard them on the news saying torture's good. But it's not just the news and editorial newspaper articles saying it. It's Threat Matrix on ABC, the anti-terror show, admittedly with Justice Department and Homeland Security funding. It's 24 with Kiefer Sutherland on Fox. I don't watch much TV. Every time I've seen the shows, in restaurants or walking through the studio here or at home at night, I've probably seen Threat Matrix 3 times. I've seen parts of 24, probably 10 times. Every time I turn it on, they got somebody in a torture chair torturing them, and I don't want to torture you. You're bad. You made me do this. And they'll cry while they torture. Oh, we were the good guys. We hate it. Mass conditioning. So there's that layer of the onion. And when people get caught torturing, jail guards torture people to death in our prisons, they don't even get in trouble in the U.S. now. That's a minor local news article. That's another layer to the onion. But here's the question. If we've known for a year they've been torturing people brutally in Iraq, if we've known for 2 years they've been torturing innocent people, lining up 3,000 innocent Taliban fighters who were under CIA control, again, they flew out the CIA leadership and then just rounded up all these innocent nobodies. But this is admitted, okay? Mainstream. Just, the CIA accidentally threw out 8,000 Taliban and Al-Qaeda to Pakistan. And then we did mow down 3,000 of the frontline goat herders who'd been conscripted. But there's so much information I want to give you people. Everything. You know, I was on KLBJ. I go on there every few months locally, KLBJ FM. And I appreciate Dale Dudley and others having me on. And they'll challenge me. Okay, make a claim. And I'll make all these wild claims. Then I'll say, type it in Google. And it'll be ABC, it'll be NBC, it'll be Associated Press, it'll be this document. And they type it in and it pops up. I mean, literally, you can take everything I'm saying, type it in a search engine, it'll come out mainstream news. But it comes out piecemeal. Just, the U.S. government had a plan to hijack jets and fly them into buildings. The Pentagon wanted to do it for martial law. The White House called Mayor Willie Brown and told him not to fly to New York on September 10th. PNAC, Dick Cheney said we needed terror attacks to get the people behind a war on the PNAC's own website. You know, I just go off what's going on. People always say, well, a conspiracy this big, you couldn't cover it up, you couldn't hide it. They don't cover it up, they don't hide it. It's hidden in plain view. It's just you don't want to face the reality. That's why there were rumors of death camps in Nazi Germany. People didn't want to believe it in America. They didn't want to believe it in Holland or Sweden or even France that was occupied. People didn't want to believe it in Poland. They didn't want to admit that Stalin had killed 3 times what Hitler killed decades before Hitler was in power. You don't want to face evil. Evil is never hidden. It always comes out. They can't hide it, but they can condition you not to care. Now, sometimes if they want you to get outraged about a story, they'll bring it to the forefront, every news channel, every newspaper for months on end. O.J., Michael Jackson, mindless crap like this. That stuff doesn't matter in the aggregate. An example, DynCorp, the big military-industrial complex CIA front group, was convicted in 2000. We have the elite slave ring section on prisonplanet.com, and you can go read the article about hundreds of thousands of men and women and children being kidnapped by DynCorp and flown out of the country to slave brothels worldwide. And we have, I think, about 20 articles just on that. BBC, Associated Press, Le Figaro, all the big German newspapers. So you've got hundreds of thousands of women and children being kidnapped by DynCorp, and they're convicted of it. Some of their employees are, and it all comes out that they tried to cover it up. This is industrialized kidnapping, Matrix-level evil, when we're talking about enslavement. And that's not even known by, I'd say, 1 out of 1,000 Americans. But everybody knows about Michael Jackson and that little spider web he's got there at Wonderland. The equivalent of a 200-acre bag of candy and a puppy dog. Come on, get in the car. I got the candy, I got the puppy dog. He's a scumbag. He's disgusting. His daddy should be arrested. It's admitted that his dad did stuff to him. The sicko parents that let their children go there should be arrested. But I'm not going to talk about Michael Jackson. I'm going to talk about the industrialized child kidnapping going on. Now, there's another layer to this torture situation. There's a whole other layer to this. Why are they bringing it out now? CBS admits that for months they've had these photos. Why did they sit on them? Why aren't they bringing out all the other photos? Why aren't they combining the fact that the head general of Camp X-Ray quit, refusing to torture people? You want proof of torture? Here's a general quitting, refusing to go along with it. They don't give you nexus information. They don't interconnect. They don't connect the dots. They don't give you big picture. It's all fragmented. So why are they now bringing this out? Why now? Why is this happening now? Because as I said a year before the war, as I said in 2002, the plan is to have America go in, commit atrocities, burn down crops, rape and kill women, imprison all these people, be abusive, then we go with our tail between our legs. America looks bad to the rest of the world, when all along we were used as the muscle by the big banks and the powers in Europe that own America. Forbes even admits that. They own the majority of American stock and companies. Who owns the UN, used us as the bulldog, then blamed us, discarded us, and the UN's going to play the part of the good cop and command our troops and ease back a little on some of the oppression, and then the Iraqis will accept the UN as their savior. This is an imperial management modeling system. And, Caesar in the battle for Gaul 2,000 years ago wrote about it. How he manipulated different groups against each other, and it's the same thing. It's 101. There's even government white papers a year before the war saying they were going to do this. Public stuff. But they know you're not going to go read that. And that's the type of stuff that'll never be on the news. This is now I told you before we go under UN control that we'll be demonized, we'll be shown for all this wickedness. They'll burn a few patsies, but meanwhile it was Army intelligence that told all of these jail guards, these military people, to do this. That doesn't clear their names of what they did. A low-level Nazi death camp guard is just as guilty as Hitler. And it also conditions us to accept torture. Here's an article out of the Boston Globe. Civilians ID'd in abuse may face no charges. A legal loophole could allow 4 American civilian contractors allegedly involved in the abuse of Iraqi prisoners to escape punishment, U.S. military officials and specialists said Wednesday. So, you see, first they announced they're going to charge all these guys. Now they're backing off, saying we're not going to charge the troops or the civilian spooks, the mercs, the mercenaries, because they can't. Because they're all going, hey, you told us to do this. We got the training manuals you gave us. The general's saying that now. And this is really sick. Salt Lake City Tribune, soldiers' knuckles wrapped in abuse case. The U.S. military announced that the reprimands of 7 people Monday, its first punishments and abuse of detainees at Iraq's Abu Ghraib prison, as the Pentagon moved to contain the growing political and diplomatic damage caused by graphic photographs and accounts of prisoner mistreatment. Raping women, making men have sex with each other, beating people to death is abuse. I thought it was torture. Little word crafting there. Iraq prison abuse allegations continue in dozens of prisons across the country. Army report documents mistreatment of Iraqi prisoners. Pentagon examined Iraq detention centers. Generals suggest abuse at Iraq jail were encouraged. We have the training manuals where they're told how to torture people. Sodomizing female prisoners in Iraq ordered by intelligence agencies. And again, there's photos of this. We're not going to post them here. That's the liberation, folks. Huge New Yorker article about them killing people. Killing them. Radio piracy becomes a felony. I love this Palm Beach Post article. Radio piracy becomes felony. Now, the only place in the world where they would arrest you for running a pirate FM or AM station, at least in past decades, was during CIA or communist coups in Latin America, in the former Soviet Union. And micro FM can interfere with other radio stations. Local radio stations can interfere with a few police channels, but they just flip to other ones. This is routine. There's much less interference with a 10-watt transmitter than there is with a 100,000-watt FM transmitter that's commercial. But Jeb Bush just signed a bill where it's a third-degree felony and $5,000 fine, a state law dealing with the feds, and they say because terrorists could use, but of course all of you will be arrested, those of you playing hip-hop, or those of you talking about the First Amendment or whatever it is, they're going to send the SWAT teams out, part of federal details with local state police to arrest you. Now, this isn't nationwide. It just passed in Florida. Before it was a civil matter. And actually the federal law says you can have local community low power stations. We had them until the early 80s, but when people started wanting to get the licenses, they said no. So this is the move here in America. Let's go ahead and take some calls. And it's to stop terrorists. Oh, the government wants to ban 50 caliber rifles because terrorists could use it. A terrorist has never used a 50 caliber rifle. There's been one crime in U.S. history of someone using a 50 caliber rifle in a crime. And they're not that powerful as people say they are. And on top of this is very important. They're moving to ban 50 cal, but then other cartridges below it. And they say that Al-Qaeda is known to have bought 25 of them. Did you know we actually got a copy of the 1987 purchase order? The CIA gave the Taliban and Al-Qaeda the 50 caliber rifles. So we can't have a 50 caliber rifle if they have their way because our government's giving it to their attack dogs, the people that work for them, that create the crisis. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with you what you said about Stalin killing more people than Hitler.
You just haven't, you don't know your history.
Oh, you really hurt my feelings. I'm going to come there and beat you up.
Okay, I had trouble with that. Go ahead, caller.
How you doing, Alex?
Good.
I'm familiar with, I've seen a lot of your documentaries and read a lot of your material, and I just had one question. In the 9/11 Road to Tyranny documentary, you point out that members of the Taliban were flown to Pakistan and paid with gold bars. Now, can you just please explain for me what role Osama bin Laden plays, because it seems like Osama bin Laden's role seems completely fabricated. Like, he has no ties to the Muslim world or anything. He's just helping out the CIA.
Sir, at the UT Library, he's in 1985 Washington Post articles as a hero. His family have been British servants since the British took Saudi Arabia over during World War I. They have been the servant family. They've been British intelligence for over 80 years. And he was publicly CIA, his codename Tim Osman. This is all public. His family was flown out after 9/11 out of this country. Bush Sr. was meeting with his older brother, the head of the family, on the morning of 9/11, Associated Press, London Guardian. And we have the Times of London, the New Yorker. Fox News even admitted that 6,000 Taliban and al-Qaeda were flown out to safety out of Afghanistan. How did we win a war in a month that the Russians couldn't win in 8 years with 10 times the men? Because the CIA Arabs went with guns and said, you get down there in the ditches, you fight the Americans. They then sat back at the air bases waiting. The Northern Alliance kept saying, why won't you bombard the Arab fighters? They're the bosses. Why are you just killing the frontline conscripts? They said, shut up, we know what we're doing. Then C-130s publicly landed, loaded the Taliban and al-Qaeda, the leaders, the cream, as the top U.S. general said, who was angry till he got in trouble for saying it. Loaded them on C-130s, large amounts of gold were transferred to the aircraft, and they flew into Pakistan. This is the staged event. And it's admitted. But Fox News said it was an accident that the CIA flew out 6,000. Now, in my films, I say 6,000. New reports just came out. I'm sorry, it was 8,000. It's like when I say 144 members of the bin Laden family got flown out on the day of 9/11 when all other commercial and private air traffic was grounded. Well, that was in the Miami Herald and Associated Press on September 12th. Police were like going, why are you letting al-Qaeda, they're all bin Ladens on planes? And there was Secret Service there with machine guns going, back off, back off. I mean, this was in the newspaper. All I did was report on it. Now it's 160 because Judicial Watch got the actual documents. They put out, I think it was 9 different FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, and bureaucracy slip up. All the FBI, CIA, NSA, they all refused. But Customs did release it. The names, everything of the bin Ladens, al-Qaeda members, you name it. And that's on Judicial Watch's website. That came out a month ago. So it was 160, not 144. It was 8,000, not 6,000. You know, it's always worse than what we first find out.